Why is it that the more a man understands the world, the less he is understood by it? And why does that understanding seem to push away the very love he longs for? Today, we uncover why intelligent men, those who dwell in thought and depth, often terrify the very women who seek love. What does his mind reveal that makes others run? There is a peculiar kind of loneliness reserved not for the unloved, but for the over-aware. The man of intelligence, if his intellect is bound not merely to data, but to introspection, suffers not because he is repelled by the world, but because he sees too deeply into it. He peers into the structure of human interaction, hears the tremble beneath every word, senses the hidden motives behind smiles, and walks in the world as one who cannot forget the tragic nature of time and the absurdity of habit. He is, in many ways, condemned to observe rather than belong. This thinker does not live apart from society by choice, but by necessity. He feels the social pulse. He does not dance to its rhythm. His isolation is not physical, but metaphysical. He may sit at a table with others, even laugh and toast to joy. Inwardly, he is dissecting the moment, wondering if joy is truly present or merely performed. This is not arrogance. It is affliction. He questions because he must. Do not ask, why, would be to betray his very nature. The world is not built for such men. It prizes efficiency, certainty, conformity, and a kind of happy ignorance. But the man who reflects too much lives in constant tension with these values. He does not see things in categories that make life easier. He sees paradox, contradiction, and ambiguity. When others speak with conviction, he hesitates, not out of weakness, but out of reverence for the complexity of existence. He is slow to declare, for he knows that beneath every declaration lies a labyrinth of assumptions untested. This man may be loved by society from afar, respected for his intellect, admired for his insights, but he is rarely embraced up close. For intimacy demands ease, and he offers no such luxury. He does not flatter, he questions. He does not soothe, he reveals. And this can be deeply unsettling to those who seek relationships as sanctuaries from thought rather than invitations to it. While many long for someone who listens, few are prepared for someone who truly hears. It is precisely his depth that creates distance. He cannot engage in small talk without hearing the emptiness behind the words. He cannot celebrate superficial victories without feeling the lurking presence of death that levels all achievements. He cannot pretend that love is simple when he knows it is fraught with unconscious motives, past traumas, and existential longing. His presence then becomes heavy, not because he intends to burden others, but because his consciousness carries too much weight to float lightly through life. This isolation is not bitterness, nor is it elitism. It is a result of seeing clearly in a world that prefers to see comfortably. Most people navigate their days guided by shared illusions, social scripts, cliches, and rituals that bind society together. But the intelligent man has peeled back these layers and found no certainty beneath them, only a profound freedom that terrifies more than it liberates. And so he walks among people who smile at him but do not understand him, who admire his words but recoil from his gaze, who desire his mind but reject the implications of its honesty. For the intelligent man, especially the one inclined toward introspection, relationships become a battleground between the need to connect and the refusal to lie. He cannot pretend to be someone he is not, yet to be fully himself is often too much for others to bear. Thus, he is caught between authenticity and exile. He longs for union, but his very nature makes union difficult. He dreams of being loved not in spite of his thoughts, but because of them. Yet, he finds instead that most are drawn to those who entertain, not those who interrogate, to those who affirm, not those who unsettle. There is also a tragic irony. Though he understands others better than most, he is less often understood himself. His solitude is not the result of coldness, depth. He loves truly, not because he needs to possess, but because he seeks communion. Yet, such communion is rare, not because women, or people in general, lack the capacity to love deeply, but because most have never been asked to. When they meet the intelligent man, they are not meeting just another person, but a mirror to their own concealed depths. And it is not him they fear, but what he shows them about themselves. There exists a subtle terror in being seen, not in the physical sense, but in the soul, bearing gaze of another who perceives beneath the surface. The man of deep intelligence does not merely hear what is said, He interprets silences, senses contradictions, and weighs words against expressions. He does not look at a person the way the world teaches one to look. He sees through. And this vision, though not malevolent, becomes unsettling. For most people, particularly in the realm of romantic connection, are not seeking to be unveiled. They are seeking to be held within their carefully curated illusions. Intelligent men are often feared not because they are cruel, arrogant, or aloof, but because their perception has stripped away the veils that protect most people from themselves. They do not approach love as a comfort. They approach it as an existential unveiling. And that unveiling, while potentially beautiful, is equally terrifying. To be truly known is to be seen in one's contradictions, in one's fears, in the places one has spent years hiding from even oneself. This dread of transparency runs deeper than insecurity. It is not merely that one feels not good enough for the intelligent man. It is the haunting sense that in his presence, there is nowhere to hide. He becomes less of a partner and more of a philosophical mirror. He is not content with roles or personas. He notices when a laugh is performative. He asks questions that dismantle defenses. He touches not just the body, but the inner life. And for many women who have been conditioned by culture to perfect the external while repressing the internal, this feels like a threat rather than an invitation. The average romantic dynamic thrives on emotional shorthand, gestures, rituals, phrases repeated so often they have become reflex. But the man of depth challenges these reflexes. He may pause when someone says, "I'm fine." Not because he doesn't believe it, because he senses it as a shield. He doesn't offer immediate comfort, he offers inquiry. He listens too carefully. He remembers inconsistencies. He asks why. And this why becomes the crack in the dam. Behind it lies everything unspoken, unresolved, and raw. Most people live by a kind of emotional contract. You do not expose my fragility, and I will not question yours. The intelligent man unknowingly breaks this contract. He does not shame the fragility, but he refuses to pretend it is not there. He treats the soul as a terrain worth exploring, not avoiding. He believes that truth is the only path to love. But truth, for many, feels more like surgery than safety. There is a deep and quiet yearning in many women to be understood, but only up to a point. To be understood past that point feels like disrobing in a storm. There is too much vulnerability, too much exposure. The intelligent man does not stop at appearances. He does not merely notice beauty. He wonders what paint hides behind it. He does not merely enjoy companionship. He questions what fears drive the need for it. His love does not flatter the ego. It interrogates the soul, and for those unprepared to face themselves, this is intolerable. In his presence, the usual strategies of defense, flirtation, deflection, begin to falter. They are not dismissed with scorn but bypassed entirely. He responds not to performance but to presence. And this becomes disarming. The woman who has grown used to being desired for how she appears may feel confused when faced with a man who desires her for how she is, even if she herself does not fully know who that is. The gaze of the intelligent man forces a reckoning, not through force, but through quiet, sustained awareness. It is this awareness that becomes unbearable for many. The dread of transparency is not because the intelligent man intends to reveal others. It is because he cannot help but do so. His vision, sharpened by years of contemplation, cannot remain on the surface. He does not choose to be intense, he simply is. This intensity, even when it is wrapped in kindness, becomes a pressure few know how to hold. To love him requires not only the willingness to be loved, but the courage to be seen in the full, terrible, and beautiful truth of one's being. And such courage is not as common as the longing for affection itself. To be admired is flattering, to be desired is comforting, but to be known, truly known, is an experience that borders on the unbearable for many. There is a profound difference between being loved for what one presents and being loved for what one is. Most are accustomed to offering a curated version of themselves, the attractive smile, the composed demeanor, the agreeable temperament. This version, shaped by years of social conditioning and silent compromise, is more mask than mirror. But the intelligent man is not interested in masks. He seeks the mirror, even if what it reflects is cracked, unfinished, or painful. The intelligent man, in his search for truth, does not stop at the edge of appearances. Where others are content with affection layered over assumption, He desires understanding that penetrates to the core. He cannot help but peer beneath gestures to see intention, beneath words to feel silence, beneath behavior to question its origin. In his presence, a woman is not merely observed, she is unveiled. And this unveiling is not done with judgment or arrogance, with a quiet attentiveness that sees through the lines others overlook. He does not romanticize flaws, he recognizes them. And he does not flee from complexity, he invites it. But it is this invitation that unsettles. To be known is to be without armor. It is to be exposed to all one's contradictions, vulnerabilities, desires, and disappointments. It is to have one's private dissonance noticed, not ignored. Many women, though longing for deep connection, are frightened by what such connection demands: the surrender of performance. With a man who does not question, one may remain an ideal. With a man who questions everything, one must become real. Realness, though authentic, is rarely polished. It includes moments of confusion, of weakness, of emotional chaos. It includes the parts of self that are not always beautiful or coherent. And to stand naked in the emotional and intellectual light of such a man is to risk being seen in precisely those parts one has spent a lifetime hiding. The intelligent man's gaze is not lecherous nor clinical. It is existential. He does not want to possess, he wants to perceive. This perception brings discomfort. It means she cannot simply be the girlfriend, the muse, the prize. She must be a full human being in all her contradictions. And she must face the possibility that this man will not be satisfied with the role she plays, but will instead call her to authenticity in a way that threatens her carefully maintained identity. In a world where so much effort is spent on image, on becoming what others want, being asked to reveal what one truly is feels less like intimacy and more like a confrontation. There is also the fear of being insufficient. If this man sees everything, if he sees through everything, what will remain of one's charm, one's allure, one's constructed self? Will he still want her when the illusion fades? The irony is that he wants her precisely without the illusion, but the fear lingers. It is not simply a fear of rejection, but a deeper fear that there may be nothing beneath the image worth loving. And so, it often feels safer to remain unseen, safer to be loved superficially than to risk being known and found wanting. The intelligent man does not seek this fear, nor does he cultivate it. It arises naturally from the intensity of his presence. His very mode of being, reflective, inquisitive, attentive, disturbs the typical rhythm of relationships that are often based on mutual fantasy rather than shared reality. He does not play the role expected of him, and by refusing to play, he calls the others to step off the stage as well. But when someone has lived so long in performance, the stage feels like home, and the thought of stepping off it, of standing in bare truth before another, feels like exile. What is most paradoxical is that the intelligent man does not demand perfection. He does not expect flawless beauty or unwavering confidence. He asks only for reality. But it is precisely this demand, for raw presence, for honest being, that feels the most difficult to meet, because it is not a question of looking good, or saying the right thing, or following a script. It is a question of being, and few have been taught how to simply be without hiding. To be known is to lose control of how one is perceived, and in that loss is the terror that perhaps love, if based on truth, will not be possible at all. There is a silent but ever-present truth about freedom. It terrifies, and the intelligent man, by his very nature, embodies a kind of radical freedom that unsettles rather than comforts. He does not offer predictability, he offers possibility. He does not provide the neatly packaged life that fits into traditional expectations. He opens doors to lives one never knew they were afraid of choosing. In this, he becomes not a partner in the conventional sense, but a question mark, a living challenge, a disturbance of peace that reveals the peace was never real. Most women, as indeed most people, are socialized not to pursue freedom but to manage it. They are taught to desire safety, structure, and roles. Even in modern times, where words like empowerment and independence are spoken with pride, the underlying hunger remains to find someone who provides direction, who gives shape to the chaos, who makes the decisions easier by simply removing them. The intelligent man does the opposite. His presence multiplies choices. He does not impose meaning. He demands that one create it. He does not offer simple answers. He invites better questions. And this invitation, though noble, is often met with anxiety, not enthusiasm. The intelligent man does not believe in predetermined roles. He does not see women as muse, servant, ornament, or rescuer. He sees her as a soul responsible for her own existence. And that responsibility is heavier than it first appears. To stand beside such a man is to realize that one must abandon the crutches of blame and expectation. One cannot say, "I made me feel this way," or "He didn't give me what I need." Because this man will gently but persistently return the question, "What do you need from yourself?" This is not cruelty. It is freedom. But freedom without instruction can feel like abandonment. Most relationships are built on implicit contracts, unspoken rules of behavior, mutual emotional obligations, quiet agreements to avoid the uncomfortable. But the intelligent man tears up these contracts, not because he seeks conflict, but because he refuses illusion. He does not want someone who will complete him. He wants someone who has completed herself and still chooses him, not from lack, but from strength. This reframes the nature of love entirely. It is no longer a fusion of need, but a communion of freedom. And for many, this kind of love is terrifying, precisely because it demands the courage to stand alone before one can stand beside another. There is also the unsettling realization that the intelligent man cannot be possessed. He may love deeply, but he does not belong. He is too loyal to his own inquiry, too faithful to his conscience, to ever be fully domesticated. This does not make him disloyal in the romantic sense. It means he cannot be molded, managed, or made into a fantasy. He retains a sacred autonomy that resists all attempts at control. And because he allows himself to be free, he requires the same of his partner. He will not be imprisoned, but he also will not be imprisoned. To many, this sounds ideal, until one confronts what freedom actually demands. For when a woman stands before a man who will not make her smaller, who will not define her, who will not play the game of savior or servant, she is left with only herself. And if she has not yet encountered herself in fullness, this confrontation can feel unbearable. His very existence becomes a pressure, not because he asks too much, because he asks the one thing that cannot be fake presence. Not charm, not role-playing, not pretense. Just a presence that is awake, responsible, and free. Most are unprepared for this, not because they are incapable, but because they have never been asked to live that way. And so, the intelligent man becomes a burden, not of control but of opportunity. He does not reduce a woman's world, he expands it. He breaks the ceiling, but with it also removes the comforting walls. He invites her to choose, not once, but constantly, to define her values, to confront her contradictions, to accept her longings, to become a full participant in the construction of meaning. And this burden is heavy. He does not impose it, but his being makes it inescapable. For in the shadow of such a man, a woman realizes that she can no longer live half awake. She must either rise to meet him in truth or retreat to the safety of dreams. And so, what begins as an attraction to depth becomes a confrontation with the self. The intelligent man is not frightening because he wields power over others. He is frightening because he relinquishes all illusions, and in doing so, reveals how tightly others cling to them. He does not dominate, he demands reality. He does not control, he invites freedom. Yet that very invitation unsettles, because it places the burden of existence back into one's own hands. To love such a man is to be stripped of pretenses, to be seen without costume, to be challenged not with cruelty, but with clarity. Most do not fear the intelligent man for what he says, but for what he awakens. In his presence, masks slip, roles dissolve, and the self, raw, contradictory, unfinished, comes trembling into the light. His affection is not a comfort blanket, it is a mirror, and the fear is not of him, but of what one sees reflected. This is the quiet dilemma. To be loved for who you truly are requires first the courage to become who you truly are, and it is that courage, not beauty, not status, not compatibility, that determines whether one can walk beside a man whose very essence demands that one no longer sleepwalk through life, stand fully awake in the responsibility of one's own becoming.